Hi, my name is Tia Williams, and I'm Director of Content Production here at A Cloud Guru. As you may have heard by now, A Cloud Guru acquired Linux Academy in December of 2019. This has allowed us to combine the best of two first-class learning platforms and expand the catalog of courses and features available to you. This course was originally published on A Cloud Guru. As we integrated content across our platforms, we tried to be as uniform as possible so you can find your courses and labs easily. You'll find that although the look of the site is different, the course content you came here for is where you expect it to be. As we continue on this journey together, we'll continue to publish all new courses and labs on both platforms to be sure all of our students get the best of both worlds. Eventually, everyone will use a single site as we continue our integration. Keep an ear out for updates via announcements, social media, and email over the coming months. We want to welcome everyone to a brand new world where the combination of our platforms gives you access to the most effective, hands-on, and comprehensive cloud learning catalog around. Thanks for watching, and we wish you the best in your learning journey.
Okay, hello Cloud Gurus, and thank you so much for taking this course. My colleague Mark Richmond and I will be teaching you everything you need to know to pass the Certified Solutions Architect Associate exam. My name is Ryan Kroonenberg. I'm an AWS community hero, an Alexa champion, and I'm the co-founder of A Cloud Guru. Over the last 5 years, A Cloud Guru has taught cloud computing to over 2 million people, so you're in really, really good hands. In this course, we're going to assume that you have no prior AWS knowledge. I didn't start out in tech myself. I used to be an immigration lawyer, and in 2010 I decided I wanted to retrain, and I went to night school and I learned cloud computing. So I've done the exact same journey as you. This course is really hands-on. It's not death by PowerPoint, and the best way to learn AWS is to get your hands dirty. In this course, we're going to start by looking at a 10,000-foot overview of AWS. We're then going to move on to identity access management in S3. We're then going to look at EC2, databases, advanced IAM, Route 53, VPCs, HA architecture, applications, security, and then finally move on to serverless. And you're even going to learn how to build your very own Alexa skill. Like I said, this course is very hands-on, and you'll learn everything you need to know how to pass your exam, as well as having lots of fun. So let's go ahead and get started.
Okay, hello Cloud Gurus, and welcome to this lecture. In this lecture, we're going to look at the exam blueprint for the Certified Solutions Architect Associate exam. And so the exam itself is going to be 130 minutes in length. It's going to be 65 questions, and this can change. Sometimes there's 60, sometimes there's 65, but mostly there's going to be 65 questions, and it's all multiple choice. And the good thing is as you get the hang of Amazon exams, you can always identify one or two answers that are definitely wrong, and then you can make your best guess. The results are between 100 to 1,000, and you've got a passing score of 720. So you need 720 in order to pass your exam, and I'd always aim for about 70% in order to pass. The qualification itself is now valid for 3 years, so you don't need to resit this exam until 3 years after you pass it, and it's all scenario-based questions. So let's go ahead and have a look at how we can book our exams. Okay, so here I am in Google, and I'm going to type into Google just AWS Certified Solutions Architect, and I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. Make sure you click on the top organic link. Please do not click on my own adverts because you'll cost me money. But you'll see the top organic link is going to be aws.amazon.com. So we go ahead and click on there. You'll be able to see an overview of the exam. It does say down here that you should have 1 year's hands-on experience. Don't worry about that. We assume that you know nothing in doing this course, and that you've never even logged into AWS before. And we're going to give you all the tools and knowledge that you need to know in order to pass your exam. So down here we've got everything we just covered. It's multiple choice and multiple answer questions. If you do need to choose more than one answer, it will tell you. 130 minutes to complete the exam. The exam registration fee is going to be $150 and the exam's available in a whole bunch of different languages. Now you see down here it says ready to get started, schedule an exam at aws.training. So we'll go ahead and click on aws.training. If it doesn't do anything, you do need to enable pop-ups. I don't know why it does that, but let's go ahead and just open up aws.training. Now in here, you need to create your AWS certification account. When you do create this, you may want to use your work email address if you're going to link this back to your organization, or if you want some more flexibility, you might want to use your own personal address. It's up to you. But what you want to do is just go ahead and click here, AWS certification account, and then you want to either sign in, and if you don't have an account, you can create one just by clicking the sign in button, and it will take you to this landing page, and you just need to either add your email in there, and if you don't have an account, go ahead and create it now. So I've gone ahead and signed into my account. You'll see it's the AWS training and certification landing page, and in here you've got the ability to schedule a new exam, and down here you'll be able to see your recent activities, and you can actually go over to and see your previous exams. You'll see how many exams I've done since teaching AWS. I've done an awful lot, and I haven't passed everything. I have failed some other ones. Sometimes they're practice exams, sometimes they were beta when they first came out. In fact, these two ones that I did fail were the beta exams, but I went on to pass them later on. So you are in really good hands. I do know what I'm doing. I've passed an awful lot of AWS exams. Once you have passed your exams, you're going to get digital badges. Digital badges are badges that you can use in your signature. The more exams you pass, the more badges you get. And you'll be able to also go in here and click on benefits, and you'll be able to order certain things from the store depending on what exams that you have passed. So let's go ahead and have a look at how we can book our exams. If we click on home, we'll go ahead to schedule new exam. This will actually open up a new web page, which is the PSI exams web page. And in here, you'll be able to go and schedule your exams. When you are scheduling your exams, make sure you read them carefully. Make sure that it is, you might get two options. Like here, I've got the DevOps Engineer Professional Beta. I don't know if it's going to let me see the other DevOps Professional because I've only recently just passed that. Sometimes it will take a little while before you can resit the same exam again. But here you can see AWS Certified Solutions Architect Professional. So this is the standard exam. This is the beta exam. So do just make sure that you choose the one that is most relevant to you. For me, it would be AWS Certified Solutions Architect Associate, and that's what you want to find in there. And then all you need to do is go ahead and schedule your exam, and that's is it. It's pretty straightforward. So now that you know how to schedule your exam, you're ready to move on to the next section of the course. In the next section, we're just going to have a high-level overview of AWS. Some exam questions are simply understanding what a service is, what its use case is. So the next section of the course is going to give you a high-level overview of every single service in the AWS console. After that section of the course, we're going to start getting our hands dirty. We're going to start learning about identity access management. So if you've got the time, please join me in the next section of the course. Thank you. Okay, hello Cloud Gurus, and welcome to this lecture. In this lecture, we're going to talk about why you should learn and get certified with AWS. And I guess I'll start with my journey, why I learned and got certified with AWS. So believe it or not, I don't come from a tech background. I was an immigration lawyer when I graduated from university. I moved to the UK. I live in London, and I was helping people get visas to Australia, New Zealand, Canada, and even visas into the United Kingdom. And I was cross-jurisdictional. I was one of the only ones in the world who could do all 4 countries. So I was very highly specialized in what I knew. The problem I had was that during the global financial crisis, when the subprime mortgage market collapsed, essentially there were no mortgages available. And in order to move countries, you need to be able to sell your house. And people couldn't sell their houses because people couldn't get mortgages. And so even though I was highly qualified in an industry, there was no demand for my skills anymore. And so I essentially became jobless. And that's when I decided I wanted to get into an industry that would always be recession-proof. And I looked at different industries, and tech really stood out to me. So I retrained in 2009. I went to night school, and I got my Microsoft and Cisco certifications. So my Microsoft MCSE, my Cisco CCNA. And off the back of those certifications, I got a job at Rackspace in 2010. Now, in 2010, Rackspace was at war with Amazon to try and dominate the public cloud market. So I've always always watched Amazon ever since I started at Rackspace. I was quickly promoted to a solutions architect while working at Rackspace. I worked there for a couple of years, but the segment that I was in was SMB, so small and medium business, and essentially I was only ever doing 2 to 4 server deals. I didn't really enjoy that. I wanted something more complicated. So I moved around the industry. I worked for a whole bunch of different employers up until about the end of 2014. And then I was watching AWS and I saw they released this thing called CloudFormation, and I was just fascinated by it. I could see where the future was going, and I knew AWS would be the market leaders in cloud. So I really wanted to get a job there because I wanted to be on the forefront of that revolution. Unfortunately, I tried to do training. There was only in classroom training at the time. It was £1,500 per course. There were 4 courses that I really wanted to do in order to stand out during the job application process, but I just couldn't afford that. And at the time, there was no good online training. So I thought to myself, hey, if I don't get this job at AWS, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to create an online course as part of my way of, solving this issue. And I didn't get the job. And so that's when I founded A Cloud Guru, and it turned out to be the best thing that's ever happened to me. So where is A Cloud Guru going? Well, we have taught AWS to 1.5 million people and counting. We're just over 5 years old. And we acquired Linux Academy in December of 2019. They were a huge competitor of ours, and it made a lot of sense to bring the two brands together because we both had the same missions. We both wanted to teach as many people in the world as possible cloud computing and technology in general at a reasonable rate, so you don't have to go and pay £1,500 or dollars or whatever. And now that we have acquired them, we are essentially the largest cloud computing library in the world. We are working together to bring the two platforms together under one brand and under one system, and we hope to do that in the immediate future. Can't name dates yet, but we are working very, very hard for that goal. And both companies, we both have this ethos to say that the best way to learn AWS or any other cloud or IT skill is to get your hands dirty. So it's not going to be death by PowerPoint. We're going to do a whole bunch of different, hands-on practical labs throughout this course. And that's the best way to learn is by doing. And Linux Academy have always focused on this very heavily. Linux Academy have hands-on labs. We're bringing those over to A Cloud Guru as well. Once it's all integrated, essentially what you'll be able to do is on our platform is be able to spin up, AWS environments at the click of a button, and then you don't have to sign up, yourself. We don't have that available on A Cloud Guru just yet. We're working very hard on that. Linux Academy is completely integrated right now on their platform. So if you do want to use the labs, go ahead and check out the Linux Academy platform. A Cloud Guru will have that shortly. So that is essentially a story about me and about the company and where we're going. Why should you learn AWS? Well, AWS is essentially, they have a partner program, and we're just having a brief look at the consulting partners. There's all these different partner programs, but essentially there are 3 different tiers of partnerships in, let's say, the consulting partners. So your partner, the entry-level tier is Select, then you've got your Advanced, and then you've got your Premier. And one of the requirements to become a Select partner, you have to have a number of staff who have 2 cloud practitioner certificates or 2 associate certificates. If you want to be an Advanced partner, you have to have staff who have 4 practitioner certificates, 4 associate certificates, and then 3 professional or specialty certificates. And likewise, if you are a Premier partner, you're going to need 10 certificates of practitioner, 10 for associate, and then 10 for professional or specialty certs. So the way it works within Amazon is they sort of gamify it so that the more certificates that you have, the higher level of partnership that you can reach. And of course, that encourages employers to go out and hire AWS certified people over people who are not certified. So if you do have a lot of experience with AWS, or if you don't, it's worth going through and getting certified because you will be in huge demand, as as an employee. And it also gives you access to the certification lounge and things like that at events such as reInvent or any of the AWS summits as well. So let's have a look at what AWS certificates you can do. We're going to start with the practitioner tier. So we've got our certified cloud practitioner. This is the entry level tier. We then have the associate tier. So this consists of 3, which is certified solutions architect associate, certified developer associate, and certified system administrator associate. You don't have to do cloud practitioner to do any of the associate tiers. You can just jump straight in. Likewise, we've got the professional tier, which consists of certified solutions architect professional, certified DevOps professional. Again, you can just jump straight in. You don't have to do any of the associate ones to go on to do your pro. There's no prerequisites. And then specialty, we've got advanced networking, we've got data analytics, we've got security, we've got machine learning, we've got database, and we've got Alexa Skill Builder. So we currently have 6 specialty certs. And again, you don't need any prerequisites to do that. So those are all the certs as they exist today. Let's have a look at the different difficulty levels. And I'm just going to talk about from practitioner to professional. I'm not going to talk about any of the specialties because specialties really depend on your own background. But I'll jump to that in a second. So certified cloud practitioner is by far the easiest. Solutions architect associate follows on from that and is one of the easier ones. I come from a SysOps background. So to me, SysOps administrator associate is easier than, say, developer associate. I don't come from a developer background. You might want to swap these over if you are a developer and don't administer servers. It's totally up to you. Then DevOps Pro is the next one, and then the hardest of them all is Solutions Architect Professional. Now, where I was going with the specialties, again, it depends on your background. If you come from a machine learning background, then the machine learning specialty might be super easy for you, whereas the Alexa Skill Builder specialty might be super hard because you've never made an Alexa skill. So we're just looking at the difficulty levels for the practitioner, associate, and professionals. I'm not going to go into specialty. It just depends on your own background. So let's quickly cover off the AWS new features and services. And I used Amazon's own numbers up until a point, and then they stopped publishing them, and I basically just use market research, news articles, etc. So in 2011, we had 82 new products and services, 2012, 159, 2013, 280, 2014, we had 516, 2015, 735, and this was from all of Amazon's own internal numbers. After that, I had to start sort of guesstimating based on various news articles. So 2016, there was about 1,000 new services. 2017, approximately 1,400. 2018, approximately 1,900. And in 2019, we had about 2,400. I think they said at the keynote it was around 24 to 2,500 new products, services, and updates. So you can see AWS is continually advancing and releasing a whole bunch of new things. And don't worry, you can't learn the entire AWS platform. It's just too vast now. There's too many different services. What you should do is have a broad overall knowledge of the platform and then specialize in the services that you want to work with or that interest you. And you should always be continuously learning AWS. You shouldn't just go out and get your cert and then think, well, that's it. We very much promote continuous learning here at A Cloud Guru because if you just, learn something and then stop, in 3 or 4 years from now, your skills are going to be out of date. So do always continue to go on and do new courses and learn new things about AWS. Now, this here is a study that's done by Gartner and Goldman Sachs for Business Insider. And essentially it's showing you cloud as the total potential market for IT spend. So in 2015, it was about 4.3% of all IT spend. And by 2020, they were predicting it to be around 13.2%. So that's more than tripled in terms of your overall IT spend. And then it's, for the next decade, it's going to continue to go up and up and up. There's an old saying that software is eating the world. Well, cloud is eating software. With a few exceptions, if you want to be a software developer, you are going to need to know cloud computing because almost all software is now about to sit on the cloud. And that same study went on to look at the public cloud market share. So you can see by this graph, if we look at this blue one here, AWS continued to climb. They're followed closely by Azure, and right now Google and Alibaba are battling it out as well. This is from reInvent in 2018 during Andy Jassy's keynote, and they were estimating that AWS makes up 51.8% worldwide market share. They're followed by Microsoft, 13.3%, and then Alibaba and Google as well. So it really depends. You can use whatever numbers you want, but whosever numbers you're going to use, AWS are completely dominating the market share of the cloud. Now, don't worry if you have no experience in cloud computing, in tech, if you don't come from a tech background, anyone can learn AWS. Just look at me. I used to be an immigration lawyer, and I have gone through the journey that you've been through. I know how hard it is to get into the tech field, especially starting from not coming from a tech background at all. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this course very, very easy. We're going to do an explain it like I'm five approach. It's going to be very, very hands-on. We're going to make it lots of fun because learning should be fun. You're going to go out and build a whole bunch of different projects, and that is going to allow you to to learn AWS very, very quickly. And like I said, anyone can learn AWS. It doesn't matter what age you are. I've met people in their 60s retraining to learn AWS. I've met some incredible 14, 15, 16-year-olds who are learning, and I'm talking like going up to machine learning specialty AWS as well. So anyone can learn AWS. Don't fear it. We're going to make it super fun, super easy, and we're going to have an explain it like I'm five approach, and we're going to assume you know nothing about it. So that is it basically for this lecture. Why learn AWS? Well, it's the fastest growing public cloud on the planet. It's hyper growth, so it's a very safe industry to be in. Even if there's a major recession, there's always going to be a huge need for cloud computing and especially AWS skills. These fantastic pay. It's one of the best paying clouds out there that you can learn. It's loads of fun, and it's not as complicated as you might think. And everything you need to know to pass your exam will be in this course. So that is it for this lecture, everyone. Thank you very much. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you're excited to start learning AWS. Let's go ahead and go on to the next lecture. Thank you. Okay, hello Cloud Gurus, and welcome to this lecture. This lecture is on the history of Amazon Web Services so far. So before we begin, you're never going to go into an exam and be asked what year was EC2 created or what year was S3 created. This lesson is actually just to give you sort of context of where AWS is and where it's going and why it's so important to learn AWS. So why is AWS so powerful? Well, this is Andy Jassy, and Andy Jassy is the CEO of Amazon Web Services, and he said famously that invention requires two things. One, the ability to try a lot of experiments, and two, not having to live with the collateral damage of failed experiments. Now, I'll give you a perfect example. We at A Cloud Guru are a startup. We did everything serverlessly, and we literally had no budget to build our platform. We had almost no money in the bank whatsoever. And we were able to go and use AWS and build a platform that scales automatically with demand for little to no running costs. And that's the beauty of serverless. And we'll get into what serverless means throughout the rest of this course. But it also, going back before serverless, but with the invention of Amazon Web Services itself, it meant that startups could go and try out new ideas. And then if it didn't work, or they provisioned the wrong resources, you could just go in and terminate it. You didn't have to live with the failed damage or the damage of failed experiments. So before AWS and before the cloud, what used to happen is you would go and you'd get a server, and you get it from a provider like Rackspace, for example, and you'd be locked into 3 to 5 year contracts. So if you made a mistake, that was it. You were stuck in a 3-year or 5-year contract, and you couldn't necessarily get out of it. And also renting servers is actually quite expensive, and even purchasing servers for a startup, if you're purchasing, let's say, 2 web servers, 2 database servers, a switch, some firewalls, and a load balancer, you're probably going to be looking at about $20,000 just to get the equipment. And that can be an awful lot of money for startups. Now, when AWS came along, they started provisioning virtual machines, and you could go in and provision them instantly. You could do it at the click of a button. And you could just run that virtual machine for a couple of minutes and then terminate it, and you would only be billed for that hour in which it ran. So it meant that you could go in and start experimenting and doing lots of different things, and you didn't have to live with the collateral damage of failed failed experiments. So that is why AWS is so powerful. So let's go on to a brief bit of history about AWS. And in 2003, Chris Pinkman and Benjamin Black presented a paper on what Amazon's own internal infrastructure should look like. And they suggested selling it as a service and prepared a business case. And then AWS first launched SQS, and we'll cover off what that is later on in the course. But SQS was the very first service, and this basically is a queue service or a message service and allows you to decouple your infrastructure. And that was launched in 2004. Then AWS as a business officially launched in 2006, and they were really, really clever with the way they launched because they basically targeted a lot of Silicon Valley startups. And by 2007, over 180,000 developers were on the platform. So they went after the developers first. They weren't going after the enterprise markets. They went straight for the developers. And all these startups like Dropbox or Airbnb, etc., started on AWS. And because they didn't have to raise huge amounts of money in order to, buy physical servers, they could just use Amazon servers. It made them the massive titans of business that they are today. And by 2010, all of Amazon.com moved over to Amazon Web Services. And by 2012, Amazon had their first reInvent conference. Now, reInvent is held in Las Vegas every year. It's typically just after Thanksgiving. It certainly has been for the last few years. We are there every year. Last year we had a stand. This year we'll probably have a stand as well. And there's also a big party at the end of reInvent called Replay, which is great. It's like the biggest tech party on planet. And at reInvent, what Amazon do is they go out and they release all their big releases for the year. So they'll release all the new services. So that's what reInvent is. In 2013, Amazon released the certifications. So you could start getting certified as a solutions architect, as a developer, as a SysOps administrator, etc. And they started with the associate levels, then they brought out the professional levels, and now they brought out the specialty levels. And as of recording to date, there are currently 10 certificates that you can get. And by 2014, AWS was committed to achieve 100% renewable energy usage for its global footprint. So Amazon's data centers are mostly powered by renewable energy, or at least they're trying to get that way. I don't know if it's at 100%. I don't know if they hit that target, but they're certainly trying. And by 2015, AWS broke out its revenue and they were making $6 billion per annum, and it was growing close to 90% year on year. Now that growth has slowed a little bit. I think last time I checked it was about 44%, but that might have been for the last quarter, but it is growing super, super fast. By 2016, they had a run rate of $13 billion, and by 2017, reInvent released a host of artificially intelligent services. So these were services like Polly and Lex, and these are the things that power Alexa. They released SageMaker, which is a type of machine learning, and they released a whole bunch of different AI services. And their run rate was hitting $27 billion for 2017. In 2018, AWS launched machine learning certificates, and they had a heavy focus on automating and AI and ML. So that was all at reInvent in 2018. And then this year, just at the very beginning of the year, they've released the Alexa Specialty Cert. So you can now get Alexa certified as well. And there's a total of 10 certs available right now. So that's the history of AWS so far. We're still waiting on the 2018 run rate numbers, but I would expect them to be much bigger than last year. And it really is a great thing to learn. Amazon Web Services is going to be around for decades, and the demand is just going to keep growing as more and more businesses move their infrastructure to the cloud. And of course, more and more businesses will want AWS certified people. So by doing this course, you're going to get your AWS certification, and you're going to learn an awful lot and hopefully have an awful lot of fun. So that's it for this lecture, guys. If you have any questions, please let me know. If not, feel free to move on to the next lecture. Thank you. Okay, hello Cloud Gurus, and welcome to this lecture. In this lecture, we're going to look at the AWS platform from a 10,000-foot overview. Now, this is a real photo. Most of you may or may not know this, but this is a photo that was taken in February of 2018. This is when Elon Musk sent his Tesla Roadster to Mars. It actually overshot Mars and went to the asteroid belt. And this is a Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy reference here. You can see on the screen it says don't panic. So we're going to have a look at AWS. We're going to have a brief look at all the different high-level services and some lower-level services. Don't panic, because there's an awful lot of services and you do not need to know every single service to pass your exam. I would wager now that there's very few people on the planet who know every single service in a lot of depth, just because there are so many. So please do not panic. So let's go and have a look at the AWS console in 2015. And this is what it looked like. And basically, when I first started recording the A Cloud Guru lectures in 2015, I'd go and I'd talk through every single service. So what EC2 is, what Lambda is, what S3 is. And the reason I did that was because all of these services were relevant, more or less, to the Certified Solutions Architect Associate exam. Let's have a look at what it looks like in 2016. 2016, you can see that we've got more services. So we've got things like machine learning, we've got workmail, we've got a whole bunch of new services that are being added, like Elastic Transcoder, for example. And these services actually weren't all that relevant to the exam, but I'd go through and explain what they were anyway. This is what the console looked like in 2017, so we're getting more and more and more services. And when I started to record my lectures and talk about every single one of these services, the course was getting to be about an hour and a half long just on this section. And a lot of these services are no longer relevant to the Certified Solutions Architect Associate exam. So let's have a look at what the console looks like today. So this is what the console looks like today. Don't worry, in the next lecture we're going to look at how you can sign up to the console using free tier. So if you haven't already signed up, I'll show you how to do that in the next lecture. And if you want to see all the services, you can click up here and go services, and you can group them or you can do them from A to Z. And if we scroll down, there's an awful lot of services. And if I was to go through and explain what each individual service was, let's say for 30 or 40 seconds, the whole course is this whole section of the course is probably going to take 2.5 hours. And I'm just going to be wasting a lot of your time because a lot of these lower level services are just simply not relevant to the Certified Solutions Architect Associate exam. Things like Amazon Connect or Pinpoint or let's have a look, Media Convert, any of these media services, Deep Lens, for example. None of these are relevant to the Certified Solutions Architect Associate exam. So what I am going to do now is, in this lecture anyway, is I'm just going to go through and just talk about the high-level services, so compute, storage, databases, migration and transfer, etc. And then we're going to look at the platform from that perspective. And then I'm going to show you what is relevant to the AWS Certified Solutions Architect Associate exam. One other thing I will show you is up here, you can change what region you're in, and we're going to have a look at what the different regions are in a second and what the difference is between a region and an availability zone. For the rest of this course, I would recommend that you use the US East Northern Virginia region. The reason for that is this is the oldest region and this is where all the new services come out first. This is also the region that actually goes down the most as well. So when you're building your production workloads, maybe use US East Ohio or some of the other US West ones, because Northern Virginia tends to go down once a year. But who knows, maybe that's all in the past. So let's have a look at the AWS high-level services, and we'll start with the global infrastructures. The global infrastructure is what we've just been talking about. It's the regions around the world in which AWS is based. On top of the global infrastructure sits a whole bunch of high-level services. So we've got compute. Examples inside compute might be EC2, might be Lambda, etc. And we are going to cover those off in the course. Storage, we've got things like S3. So this is where you put files into buckets. We've got different services in there, like EFS, for example. Again, we're going to cover it off in the course. Databases, this could be relational databases such as RDS. This could be non-relational databases such as DynamoDB. Migration and transfer is a way of getting things to and from AWS, includes things like a Snowball, which we are going to cover. Network and content delivery is basically one of the most sort of fundamental parts of AWS, so things like VPCs, virtual private clouds, as well as CloudFront, their CDN. We're going to cover that in the course. Developer tools is not really relevant for the Certified Solutions Architect Associate exam. It is covered, as you might guess, in the Developer Associate exam. Robotics, blockchain, and satellite are all new high-level services that were released at reInvent for 2018. Not covered in the course. I really hope there's a robotics specialty at some point. That would be super cool. but it is a very, very new high-level service, not relevant for the exam. Management and governance we will cover. Media services we won't. Machine learning, so this is all the sort of AI, things like SageMaker, for example. You basically just have to be highly sort of aware of the different AI and ML capabilities for the Certified Solutions Architect Associate exam. They may ask you a question about one or two services, but you don't need to know it in a lot of depth. Where it does come up is in the new Machine Learning Specialty Cert, which I did actually just a couple of weeks ago, and it is super, super tough. We've then got analytics. We've got security, identity, and compliance. Security, identity, and compliance we will cover off in the very next section of the course, where we start to log into identity access management. We're going to start creating our users, groups, and roles. We then have mobile, not really relevant. AR and VR, so AR is augmented reality, VR is virtual reality, again not really relevant. Application integration as well as AWS cost management. Cost management can be a part of the Solutions Architect Associate exam. It's a big part of the cloud practitioner. We then have customer engagement, business applications, desktop streaming, IoT, and game development. So let's go ahead and start with the fundamentals, and let's look at AWS global infrastructure. So what's the difference between a region, an availability zone, and an edge location? So we'll start with the global infrastructure. So there's currently 19 regions and 57 availability zones around the world as of December 2018. And there's going to be 5 more regions and 15 more availability zones for 2019 that are currently announced. Of course, there's going to be more. Don't worry, you're never going to be tested on the number of regions and availability zones, but it is important to understand the differences between them, and also where they are, basically. Where's your local region? So before we look at a region, let's look at this. This is a data center, and some of you may have seen data centers before, some of you may have not. And an availability zone is essentially just a data center. That's what I want you to think of an availability zone as. So an availability zone is a facility somewhere out in the country, or it could be in the city, and inside that facility is a whole bunch of computer stuff. So servers, we've got SANs, we've got switches, we've got firewalls, we've got load balancers, we've got storage. Basically anything to do with cloud sits inside our data centers. So a data center is just a building filled with servers, and an availability zone is essentially a data center. Now, an availability zone actually may be several data centers, but if they're really close together, they're going to be counted as one availability zone. So one availability zone could be 2 or 3 data centers that are all within, say, a couple of miles of each other. That way, if there is a flood, it might take out all 3 facilities, so it might take out that availability zone. But then you'll have another availability zone that will be, 100 miles away. And if it floods in one area, it's not going to affect the other area. So you're going to have different availability zones in different regions. So what is a region? Or a region is just simply a geographical area. So each region consists of 2 or more availability zones. So we have the London region, we have the Northern Virginia region, we have the Oregon region, we have Sydney region, Singapore region, we have the Tokyo region, etc., etc. So regions are just distinct geographical areas, and each region will always consist of 2 or more availability zones. An availability zone is simply a data center, and a data center is simply a building that's filled with computer stuff. So pretty simple stuff. So let's have a look at today's regions. We've got North America. North America consists of a whole bunch of different regions. So we've got Northern Virginia, Oregon, US West. We've got the Central region, which is Canada. US West that I'm talking about here is actually just for GovCloud. So GovCloud, you can see there's GovCloud US West and GovCloud US East. This is for government customers only. This is not for private corporations. So do bear that in mind. We then got the US East, which is in Ohio, and we've got US West in Northern California. We then down here have a whole bunch of different edge locations, and you're always going to have more edge locations than you will have regions. You might be thinking, well, what's an edge location? Well, edge locations are endpoints for AWS, which are used for caching content. So typically this consists of CloudFront, which is Amazon's content delivery network, and we're going to have a look at that in the S3 section of the course. But it's a way, let's say you've got a big file and you've got a user who's sitting in Sydney, and the server that they're trying to get the file from is in New York. Basically what happens is that user downloads it from New York. It is then cached inside the Sydney edge location. And then if somebody else from Sydney then tries to download that file, they don't need to get that file from New York. They can actually just get it from this Sydney edge location. And again, I'll cover this off in more detail when we go and do the S3 section of the course. What's important is that you understand that an edge location is not a region. It's actually just a sort of a smaller location that AWS have, and it's used for caching content. And there's always going to be more edge locations than there are regions. Currently, there's over 150 edge locations around the world. Let's have a look at South America. We've got a region in Sao Paulo, and then we've got a whole bunch of different edge locations around Rio de Janeiro and Sao Paulo as well. We then have the EMEA region, so Europe, Middle East and Africa. So we've got the Irish region, which is one of the oldest regions inside Europe. We've got the London region, we've got the Frankfurt region and the Paris region. We've got a whole bunch of new regions that are coming in EMEA. So we've got regions in Cape Town, in Sweden, in Italy that are all coming online as well. And then we have a whole bunch of different edge locations there. In APAC, we've got the Singapore region, the Tokyo region, Osaka region, Sydney region, Seoul region, Mumbai region, Beijing region, and the Ningxi region. And then we've got a whole bunch of different edge locations as well. So what is it you need to know in order to pass your Certified Solutions Architect Associate exam? So we had a look at all these different high-level services. I'm no longer going to go into each individual service and explain, what SageMaker is or what EC2 is or what Elastic Transcoder is. We will go and explain the most relevant services throughout the course that will help you pass your exam, but we're not going to cover every single service on the AWS platform because that would be an entire course all unto itself. So what is it we need to know to pass our Certified Solutions Architect exam? Well, why don't we just start with what we don't need to know? So we don't need to know developer tools. We don't need to know robotics or blockchain or satellites. We don't need to know media services. We don't need to know mobile. We don't need to know AR and VR, application integration. We don't really need to know cost management. We kind of do a little bit. That's a bit of a touchy one, so I've made it fall off. But we will cover cost control on AWS because that is an important part of being a certified solutions architect. We don't need to worry about customer engagement, business applications, and IoT or game development. So these are the high-level services that you should, focus on in order to pass your exam. And of these high-level services, there's a bunch of core services, and these are the bread and butter of passing your AWS Certified Solutions Architect Associate exam. So we've got security, identity, and compliance, which we're going to do in the very next section of the course. We have compute, we have storage, we have databases, and we have network and content delivery. Compute is mostly just around EC2 and Lambda. Storage is going to be all around S3. Databases is going to be mostly RDS as well as some DynamoDB and some Redshift as well. And I'll explain, don't worry if all these sound like foreign languages. We are going to learn what they are throughout the course. Network and content delivery is all Route 53, which is Amazon's DNS service, as well as VPCs, which is the way it's like virtual private cloud. It's basically like a virtual data center where you're going to build everything. And basically, if you know Route 53 and you know VPCs inside out, you stand a very, very good chance of passing this exam. And like I said, security, identity, and compliance is going to be in the very next section. And in particular, you need to know identity access management inside out to have a good chance of passing your exam. So what are my exam tips? So you've learnt an awful lot already. Just understand the difference between a region, an availability zone, and an edge location. A region is a physical location in the world which combines two or more availability zones. And so you have a London region, you have a Sydney region, a Singapore region, etc. An availability zone is one or more discrete data centers, each with redundant power, networking, and connectivity housed in separate facilities. And then an edge location is just an endpoint for AWS, which is used for caching content. Typically, this consists of CloudFront, which is Amazon's content delivery network, and we're going to learn about that in the storage section of the course. So that is it for this lecture, guys. If you have any questions, please let me know. If not, feel free to move on to the next lecture, where we're going to sign up to an AWS free tier account. Okay, hello Cloud Gurus and welcome to this lecture. So this is a really quick lecture. This is going to show you how to sign up to the AWS platform. If you've never been to it before, just go to aws.amazon.com. If you have never visited it before, it will say create an AWS account. If you have visited it before, it will say sign in. So go ahead and click up here. Your screen may look different. It depends on what time of year that you're viewing it. Certainly around summits, it will look completely different. I'm filming this just after reInvent 2018. So I'm going to go ahead and click create an AWS account. That will take me to this landing page. If you don't see something like that, if you see something similar to this, so it's asking you to sign in, just click here to create a new AWS account, and that will take you to the same landing page as well. So it says create an AWS account, and I want you to enter your email address in here. This email address is going to be known as your root account login or root account address, and you'll always need access to this email address, so make sure you don't enter in a false email address. In here, you just go ahead and enter your password and then go ahead and confirm it. And then down here in your AWS account name, I want you to enter something that's meaningful to you. So I'm going to call mine A Cloud Guru 2019. And once you've done that, go ahead and hit continue. Okay, it's then going to ask you for your contact information. Change your account type from professional over to personal, or just make things easy for you because we're not going to use this as a production account. And then I want you to go ahead and fill in all your details. And once you've done that, click create account and continue. It will then ask you for your payment information. Go ahead and fill in your credit card details and then hit submit. So we now need to confirm our identity. What we need to do is just enter in this captcha code, so BNDFNB. So I'm going to enter that in here. Then I'm going to go ahead and click on Contact Me. That's then going to give me this unique 4-digit number, and Amazon are going to call my phone. And all I need to do now is basically enter that in when Amazon call my phone, and that will then go ahead and confirm my identity. Once you've done that, you should be able to see the following screen. And here we go. So our identity has been verified successfully. Go ahead and hit on continue. We then have our support plans in here. So we've got 3 or 4 different types of support plans. We've got our basic plan, our developer plan, our business plan, and our enterprise level support. I would go ahead and click on basic. This can be a very popular exam topic, knowing the differences between the 4 different support levels. Essentially, if you ever ask for wanting a technical account manager, you're going to need enterprise level support, and you have to be spending $15,000 a month in order to get enterprise support. So go ahead and click on basic. That will then load this screen saying, welcome to AWS, and you can personalize your experience. I'm not going to go ahead and do that. I'm just going to go ahead and sign into the console. So click into the sign into the console. And there you go. You are now registered with AWS, and you're able to sign into the AWS console. And you will need to be able to sign in to do the rest of this course. So go ahead and sign in, and let's move on to the next lecture. If you have any questions, please let me know. If not, feel free to move on to the next lecture. Thank you.